Hey Blip Sounds, my name is Brian Seeley and we are back for the March sound design competition. This time we will be recreating a sound from my favorite game, Star Wars: The Old Republic. This is easily one of my most favorite games. I've been playing it now for years. It is an MMO RPG and it's been a lot of fun for me to play. We will be recreating a sound this time from the Sith Sorcerer class, focusing on a lightning attack, which you can see here. There's a lot of moving parts in that video, so when you do download it, do spend some time going through and making sure you're catching all the little details in there. So this is all about telling a story through details. The other thing for this month is that we will not be providing sounds for you like we have in the past. This challenge is the single source sound design. So what I mean is you can only use one source, but you can record as many variations of that source as you want to. So for example, this time around, I used a beard trimmer. I recorded myself turning it on and off, taking the blades on and off, putting the clippers on, and even trimming my beard while using it. So you can use whatever object. I've also used paper in the past when we did another version of it. We've had people use aerosol cans, their mouths, cans of soda, a bathtub, I think somebody used. The limit is really your imagination. Now, the other rule is whatever object you use has to be the main sound driver. Now, that sound can be because you acted upon it, so like you can hit it, smack it, smash it, do whatever, but it has to be the common denominator in all of the source recordings that you make. You can record as many variations as you want. The sky is the limit. Now, joining me this month will be one of our own, a sound designer named Juuso Tolonen from Sweden. Some of you may recognize him in that he has won a few of the competitions in the past, and he is an extremely talented sound designer. You can check him out on his Twitter page and his website, which I think Chris will put around here somewhere. And I'm really excited to see what he has to share. Ryan will not be joining us this time around as he's been doing a lot of traveling lately and working on a few other projects. So it will just be Juuso and myself for the breakdown. If you have any questions about the competition, please feel free to jump into Discord and ask away, and I'm more than happy to help them. As always, the competition will run from the first Friday of the month to the last Friday of the month, and it will end at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. After the last Friday, we will do a live stream where we will watch all the videos, and then we will announce 3 winners: a judge's winner, a community winner, and a random roll winner. And you will all receive a free month of the game audio training series. To learn more about that, as well as other things about Blip Sounds, head on over to blipsounds.com. Now, without further ado, let's check out the videos. Hey all, welcome to my breakdown for the lightning attack. Before I get into it, I'm just gonna go ahead and play my sound. So there is a lot going on in there, and I used a beard trimmer for my single source, and I played it, just at buzzing with the clipper off, with the clipper on, with different guards on, actually trimming my beard to get different sounds, just to try different textures. So you can see the variety of things that I've done, all the different recordings that I've made. Like I said, there's a lot going on because I needed a lot of layers. It sounded very anemic. Some of the things that I thought interesting was trying to create not just a lightning effect, but also something that sounds like the Force. So in the original video itself, they just do a lightning attack, and I wanted to add some elements in there of like, what does the Force sound like? So they're using the Force to channel lightning. So how can I tell a story with the sound? One of the sounds that I used, I dropped some of the clipper sound into Iris 2. Let's just go ahead and hear that without the other plugins. It's a resampler tool, and I can draw in just the frequency section that I wanted to play, and I set it to play backwards. So because it's playing sub frequencies and it's playing so quietly, I have to put these on as well. So I have the Devil Lock, just straight up squashing this, but at about mixing in about half. Here's what it sounds like with the isotope and the Devil Lock. So some neat things going on there. And then I added the decapitator. Again, just driving the snot out of it. Didn't turn the punish on, but I'm just going like crazy. And it adds some more grit on top when it starts to change in that frequency line, like when it starts to crest right around here. And then I wanted to highlight the sound when she starts to glow. Like I said, I'm trying to create what does the force sound like, because when you're watching the video, when she shoots the lightning, there's not only a proc effect, but it's also kind of a attack and then drawing some of that energy out of her target. So I wanted, like I said, I wanted to create like, what does the force sound like? And I wanted to highlight everything that's going on screen. So I originally thought doing the trimmer was going to be a good idea. Like in my mind, it was working out really well. But then on paper, there were a lot of struggles that I was dealing with. A lot of like, how do I make it sound like a lightning attack? And I knew I wanted to use a lot of distortion, but it turned out I needed a lot. Not just distortion, but also creating layers. So I have the amp attack. This time I'm using iris, trash, and just some EQ to clean some things up. So with this iris, I took the same sample as I did on the force sound, but this time I layered it 4 times. And each time I gave it a different pitch. So this one is A1, C3, E2, and A3. So I gave it an A minor chord. And here's what it's like without all the other stuff. It's also pitched kind of low too. And then I'm using the pitch modulator. So when she's shooting the lightning, just to create kind of this wave effect or interesting effect. Using the pitch modulator to create just some movement in it so that it's not just a stagnant sound. And also just to make a sound of that lightning, like drawing back to her and drawing energy back to her. And then layered in with some trash, and I'm using the faulty transistor. So that adds a lot more grit to it so that it really feels like a very violent lightning attack, because I wanted it to feel aggressive. And then I was just using some EQ to carve out some heavy tones at around 4K. And I do the same thing again, no pitch, but just when she does that little blast right at the end. And that's being supplemented with just my favorite combination of reverb and the Berserk distortion. So that adds some impact to it, which you can hear with these two. So again, just making the attack more aggressive. And then, so I wanted some sort of sound to start the attack, again, to make it feel violent. And I took one clip sound, and this is what it sounds like without the plugins, just this. So that's me putting the guard on the clip, and that one stays normal. This one is pitched down, and I'm using EQ and the decapitator to bring it out more. Again, using my favorite combination of reverb, berserker, and then I'm using a down pitch as it's going. So sort of like how when she's first starting it with the air ionizing, there's like this thunder just exactly like that. And then my last little layer is using a meta filter into a Mobius into amplitude just to create this effect here. And that was just to add some more layer to it, some more movement, so that it adds to the freneticism. Oh, and then lastly was just for some feedback sound, I took some of me like clipping the clips on and off. I just stuck them all together and I reversed them. So it just sounds like that. Just to add a little bit more layer to it for the whole attack. So that's just my brief overview of how I did the attack using the electric trimmer as my single source. It didn't play out the way I initially thought it would, but by that point I had committed to using that, so I just had to figure out how to make it work. So that's my recommendation to you, is don't overthink the single sound source. Just whatever you use, just figure out how to make it work. There are a myriad of ways to do it and a lot of tools at your disposal. And I hope you all really enjoy this challenge.
Hello, my name is Juuso Tolonen and I'm a video game sound designer from Finland. So I think I'm the first one who is not a native English speaker, so bear with me. Here's my March Lip Sounds Sound Design Challenge breakdown video. So the point was to record a single source and use that to design this Star Wars clip. And this is what I used for my source. It's a rubber stretching band. So let's take a look at what I recorded. All right, let's take a look at the Reaper project. So first of all, let's take a look at the sounds without any plugins. So it's not much, but you can kind of get the idea for the sound and the texture that I wanted to get from the rubber band. So from there, it was just a matter of processing to make it a bit more aggressive, clean it up, and obviously have some sci-fi processing on top of that. And the challenge with Lightning is that it's by nature it's kind of like distorted, so a lot of high end and a lot of movement, so that can be kind of hard to control. So that was definitely the biggest challenge, to get it sounding like kind of aggressive and have all the high end there, but to not overdo it and make it too harsh. A lot of the processing on these channels is the same, so I'm just gonna focus on the main Lightning sound for this video. I wanted to keep some of the chains here so you can see kind of like what my workflow was. I might do like a first set of plugins for a sound, trying to like it's almost there but not quite, and then I might bypass all of those and then do like another chain on top of that, and then I just start experimenting and maybe like combining the two chains. And then once I'm fairly happy with that, I even try to change the source sound. So I keep the chain but then just slap in another source recording in there. So this was the probably the first sound that I started and the last one that I finished. So it's really like the meat and bones of the whole Lightning sound. And without plugins, this sounds like this. So as you can hear, I have the basic movement in there. It already sounds kind of like really lame lightning or electricity. So it was just a matter of distorting it more, you know, making it more energetic and a bit more metallic. So I used saturation here to kind of like soften the harmonics, and then the crystallizer is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the sound. So it's basically taking a grain of the sound and doing a delay out of it and pitching it up. I think you could achieve the same effect with any kind of like granular plugin. And then there's a tremolator that's adding volume movement to the sound as well. So without the crystallizer, it's just a basic sound. And then we have this metallic layer without plugins. Yeah, as you can hear, it's kind of there. It's very unpleasant, but you can kind of hear where it could go. So with some frequency shifting, that the original sound is very, you know, blocked. It's kind of like the right frequencies, but in the wrong place. So once you just shift them all, it's a lot more open. There's a bit of pitching and some EQ, and again saturation, chorus, and the comb filtering is doing a lot of the metallic tones in this sound. Then I also wanted to emphasize the start and the end of the spell. Here the delay is doing kind of like the electric sizzle in the sound. Some bass, not much going on there, just some super distorted sound that's low passed, and there's like a phaser doing the wobbly movement. And to really emphasize the beats in the beginning and the end, and well, the singular cast spell, I have these really distorted impacts. So these are kind of like simulating the aggressive nature of the lightning. So whenever there's like an electrical burst, it's like a super visceral and like violent event. So I just wanted to have these like super distorted short bursts at the beginning. And the thing is, like, when you listen to it, like only the beginning is pretty loud and lightningy, but then it kind of falls off to this like blah, 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 blah. So like it's the initial impression that gives you the feeling, and then you can kind of like chill for a second and then get to the end again. Like the middle part gives room to hear the hits to the enemy and the rising glowy hand thing, whatever that means. I wasn't quite sure what's happening with the hands, but like when they start to light up. And here you have the kind of a rise up instantly when you click the button, even though there's really no animation here to show it, like. But just to give some feedback to the player, otherwise they might be confused, like, what's happening? Did I even hit the button? Is it gonna do the spell? Or something like that. That's like really the basics of the sound, and that's about it. So thanks a lot, Blip Sounds, for having me. This was a lot of fun, and happy sound designing for all the challenge participants. See ya.
A big thank you again to Juuso for joining us this time around, and I really hope you all have a lot of fun with this challenge. Try not to overthink what your single source will be, but focus more on how you can make it work after you get those recordings. Like I said, there's a lot of details going on, so be sure to spend time watching the video looking for all the little details. And as always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to jump into Discord and ask away. We are here as a community to learn and grow together, and that means helping all of us to improve. I hope you all have a great time this month, and I can't wait to see the videos that you make. Peace out.